Okay, so we are going to go over a quick and easy way to obtain data from check for understanding questions in a virtual way. So in Schoology, you can see I'm on my course page right here, and I'm going to go to add materials, and then this blue puzzle piece right here, add assessment. So several of you took Coach Wyrick and I's training this week on adding assessments. So some of you are already well aware of what this can offer. For those of you who are not aware of Schoology assessments, we want to show you how you can add check for understanding questions and obtain that data by doing so. So if you click on add assessment, you would give it a name, a due date, enable your submissions, give it a category, just like you would any of your assignments. So you'll see I already created one right here called CFU week of 10/19/20. So if I click on that, you'll see that there are 18 different question types over here on the left-hand side. So you can choose any of these as many times as you'd like. For the sake of this demonstration, I just chose 4 sample types of questions. There is the highlight image question, the short answer question, fill in the blank drop down, and then the highlight text. So I chose these different options to show you a couple of things. These two right here are going to need grading when you're done. So if that's something that sways your decision, know that there are certainly other options like these two down here that will be graded automatically because you'll input the correct answer. So totally up to you on which you choose. This first example, we used a math example, and the question up here, you can see I typed in, it's having them label different things on a graph with various colors. So that's what this type of question offers. You'll see these colors down here that'll be available to students. You'll click on upload image, and then if you go to preview question, you'll see what it would look like for the students. So I uploaded this graph. The question is right here, and then they'll have the ability to choose whichever color, and they can draw. Let's say they mess up, they can undo it and choose a different option. So this is all what it would look like for the student. Now, the other thing that you would want to do from this view is scroll down to the bottom, and when it loads, there's going to be a button for learning objectives. Let's try it again. It's not loading. Let me try this one. So for this one, there is a short answer question that we put up here. This is a history example regarding the Roaring 20s and the causes of the Great Depression. So that's pretty self-explanatory. If you look at the preview of that, it's going to just be a text box where the students would type. This question is a fill in the blank dropdown. This is another social studies example. I made it a little bit more complex in that I have 4 different responses. And what that does is it gives me, you see right here, the ability to add as many options as I want for each individual drop down. So the first drop down, second, third, and fourth, and then I added 4 options for each of those drop downs. And then down here is where I would enter the correct responses. Now, this is the type of question that you want to choose partial match so that they would be awarded credit if they got, let's say, these 2 right, but the first and the last one wrong. So that's another option in assessments that you have. There are other additional setup, settings, if you will, that you can set on each of these questions. So you just kind of have to play with it. And then again, if you go to preview question, this is what it would look like for the students. So they can choose any of these options and just play with it until they have the correct answer and then move on to the next. Lastly, the highlight an example of figurative language. Obviously, this is an English example, and what I did is I just selected some random text and I entered it right here, you see. And then when you go to possible responses, you select some words, and that makes it an option for them to choose. And then I set the correct answers down here at the bottom so that when they preview it, it'll look like this. As they hover over it, they see what they could select as an answer. So that's what that looks like. Now, again, this is only 4 different options, but again, there's 18 total different options. There's also some setup that you have to do if you want to change any features, like giving them a time limit, randomly ordering the questions, or down here, adding the number of attempts that students can submit. So you could change that. The ability to see the results, you can change that. So there's a lot of different settings that you can play with. And then if you see from this course, since we delivered this PD, there's some data for the assessment that we gave right here, this Spring High School October 2020 PD. So real quick glance, what that looks like is, because I tied my learning objectives to each question, this is a view teak by teak of how my students did on this assessment. So you can see, if I'm looking over here, I see a lot of red, and I come and I hover, and I see that for that teak, only 8 out of 28 of my students achieved mastery. Specifically, 2 exceeded, 6 met, and 20 did not. So that may be something I want to revisit, or maybe it was something that I made a mistake on. So I definitely want to look back at that. Versus, I see a lot of green over here, and I say, well, it looks like they really understand 5E, 25 out of 28 of my kids got that one. So the way that I do that is just by clicking on this mastery settings button up here, and I can set it to whichever percentage I want. And so what that does is that provides this color-coded view of how your students did. So again, the only way to make sure that that happens is if, when you're in your assessment, you make sure to attach the learning objectives, and I will show you what that looks like. So on this one, for instance, you'll see down bottom right here that I have selected TEAK 4A to be associated with this question. All I did is I clicked on this button, Learning Objectives. I went to State Standards, Texas TEAKs. I chose English Language Arts, grade English 2, we'll say, and then just found whichever TEAK. You can also search if you want. Found whatever TEAK that corresponded with that question, and then I hit Confirm, and then that ties that TEAK to the question, and that's what gave me that color-coded view in the Mastery tab. So again, this is just a way to show you that you can do this virtually. You can do it easily with Schoology. You can get data back instantly, and not all Check for Understandings need to be multiple choice questions. There's a lot of other ways for students to demonstrate their level of mastery on these concepts besides just a multiple choice question. So hope that helps.